Dear students, Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the course of ME 212 Dynamics. This is lecture 32 and in this lecture we will start chapter 16, which is the planar kinetics of rigid body. So since this chapter is based on the kinetics of rigid body, so in this chapter we will study the forces that will cause the motion, or the agent that cause the motion, or the main task that we are dealing in this chapter. Now, what are the chapter objectives? The chapter objectives is introduce the methods to determine the mass moment of inertia of a body. Second objective is to develop the planar kinetic equation for a symmetric body. So in this chapter we will develop the kinetic equation for the symmetric body which is undergoing through a planar motion. And the third objective is discuss the application of the equations like the planar kinetic equation to the bodies that undergo translation as well as rotation about fixed axis. So these are the chapter objectives that we will cover in this chapter. Now the first topic is mass moment of inertia. Now the first thing is inertia. What is inertia? Basically inertia is the resistance of an object to change its state of motion. What is inertia? It is resistance of an object to change its state of motion. Now how can an object change state of a motion? So basically when we are dealing with the translation motion, so in the translation motion the agent that causes the translation motion is basically force, and when we are dealing with the rotational motion, the agent that causes the rotational motion is basically movement. So from the Newton's second law of motion, F equal to ma. So because of the force that has to be applied on the mass m, the acceleration occurs. So we can write acceleration as a equal to F over m. And from this relation, acceleration is directly proportional to force, but acceleration is inversely proportional to mass. It means that here the mass provide resistance of an object to change its state of motion, or basically the resistance offered to the translation motion is because of this mass m. So we can write this mass as the resistance to translational motion. Similarly, as we know that the moment causes the rotational motion, so for the rotational motion we can write m equal to Im times alpha. I will discuss what is Im. So here because of the since the motion is rotational motion, so here the acceleration that occur will be the rotational acceleration, which is denoted by alpha, but in the translational motion the acceleration occur is the rectilinear acceleration. So here movement is basically because of the rotational motion, the rotational acceleration will occur. So we can write the rotational acceleration as alpha equal to moment upon Im. So by comparing the above equation, these two equations, we can write that this because of this Im, the resistance has occurred to the rotational motion. So we can write this as resistance to rotational motion, and this resistance to the rotational motion is basically Im is basically your mass moment of inertia. This is your mass moment of inertia. Just have a quick review again. Have a quick review. What is inertia? Inertia is the resistance of an object to change its state of motion. This state of the motion is basically when a body is set to a motion, there is some resistance that occur to that motion. So as we know that the translation motion is because of the force and rotational motion is because of the movement. So from the Newton's second law of motion, F equal to ma. So because of the force which act on a body of mass m, the acceleration occur. So we can write acceleration as F over m. So here acceleration is directly proportional to force but inversely proportional to m. It means that by increasing the mass m, the acceleration will decrease. It means that because this m is basically providing resistance to a body, or providing resistance to the state of the motion of a body. Similarly, as the rotational motion is occurred because of the movement, so we can write m equal to im time alpha, where alpha equal to m over im. So here again, by comparing this equation with the rectilinear acceleration equation, we can say that alpha is inversely proportional to im. Or in other words, alpha im is basically the resistance to the rotational motion of a body. So this im is called as mass moment of inertia. Now what is the definition of mass moment of inertia? It is basically it is the resistance to the rotational motion of a body. This is called as mass moment of inertia. The mass moment of inertia can also be defined as the integral of the second moment about an axis of all the element of mass dm. Let us say that on a rigid body you have a mass dm, and we have to find out, let us say that the mass moment of inertia about the axis z axis. So we have to draw the perpendicular distance from this z axis to the small incremental mass dm. So let us say that distance is r. So for the body moment of inertia about the z-axis, its definition is basically I is integral mass integral r square dm. This is for the small element dm. So here r is the perpendicular distance from the axis about which you have to find out the mass moment of inertia. Let us say that in this case, as we have to find out the mass moment of inertia about the z-axis, so our r will be the perpendicular distance to z-axis. And what is your dm? This is basically infinitesimal small element mass. So this is basically the equation for finding the mass moment of inertia mathematically. Generally, when we study the planar kinetics, so the axis about which we have to find out the mass moment of inertia, that axis is normally passing through the mass center G, and this is for the planar kinetics. So the mass moment of inertia computed about that axis is Ig. We can call that mass moment of inertia as Ig. So since Ig, in that case, Ig will be equal to integral of m r square time dm. Since here we have to take the square of the r, which is a perpendicular distance from the axis that passing through the mass center G, and the dm. Here r is the perpendicular distance. So we are taking the square on this. So it means that this mass of moment of inertia is always a positive quantity. It can't be negative. And we can calculate this integral upon volume. As we know that what is the definition of density? As we know, density is mass over volume. So we can write for the small element as this density is dm over dv. This definition will be true for the small element. In that case, for the small element, the mass will be dm and the volume will be dv, which is the infinitesimal small mass and infinitesimal small volume. So in this case, we can write dm equal to rho time dv. Here this v is basically representing volume. So by substituting the value of dm in this equation, we can write this as r square time rho dv. In this case, the integral has to be taken upon volume. So the case when our density is constant, so we can take density out from the integral. So after taking the density out from the integral, the mass moment of inertia become equal to rho time integral volume integral r square dv. Since the integral is to be taken upon volume, it means that we have to take 3 time integral, like it is triple integral, as the integral is to be taken upon on volume. Now what is the procedure for finding the mass moment of inertia for the rigid body? So there are the two procedures in which we can find out the mass moment of inertia. The first one is by using the shell element, and the second one is by use of the disk element. So let us say that this is the rigid body of which you have to find out the mass moment of inertia. So in the rigid body, imagine that there is you can find out the mass moment of inertia for the shell element, which is of the cylindrical shape. So by finding the moment of inertia for the shell element for the whole rigid body, you can find by taking the integration of the moment of inertia of the shell element. So as we know that di equal to r square time dm. So dm can be written in term of dv as r square rho dv. So in this case, you have to find out the moment, differential volume for the shell element. So for the cylindrical element, what is the volume? So volume is basically the circumference time this height time the thickness. So this is basically 2 pi. Y is basically y is the perpendicular distance from the z axis. So this is your circumference, and this is the height, and this is the thickness. So in this way you can find the differential volume for the shell element. So by substituting this dv in the above equation, so by applying the integration, you can find out the moment of inertia for the whole rigid body. Now to find the moment of inertia for the disk element, so again the same procedure we have to follow. We have to find out dv as the disk element. This is basically the area of the circle. So multiplying the area of the circle with the thickness or height dz, we can find out the differential volume for the disk element. But kept this thing in mind that let us say that this is the disk element, and this is the axis that passing to the disk element. So as in the disk element, we cannot directly apply di equal to r square time dm. We cannot apply directly. As in, let us say that this is the point on this disk. So the distance of this point from the disk, let us say that this is the a, and let us say that this is the particle on the periphery of the disk. So let us say this distance is b. So as the perpendicular distance from the z-axis vary from point to point, so this means that we cannot apply this formula which is for the constant distance from the z-axis. So this means that we can find the moment of inertia for the disk element by using the already defined formulas for the disk element. So here these are the moment of inertia for some of the common geometric solids. So the first one is for the thin rod having the axis passing through the center. Second one is also for the thin rod, but the axis is at the end. The third one is for the solid disk. Similarly for the hollow cylinder, for rectangular plate, thin rectangular plate, for thin wall hollow cylinder, for solid sphere, and the thin wall hollow sphere. So these are the some most commonly used geometries, and these are the moment of inertia for these commonly used geometries. So you can take help from these already defined moment of inertia in solving the problems. Now come to the example on the finding the mass moment of inertia. The statement of example is determine the mass moment of inertia of the cylinder about z-axis. The density of a material rho is constant. So in this example we have to find the mass moment of inertia for the object which is a cylindrical shape, and we have to find the mass moment of inertia about the z-axis. The density of the material given is constant. So here this is the object, this is the cylinder, solid cylinder of radius r, and the axis assigned on the middle of the cylinder. So we have to find a mass moment of inertia about for that cylinder about the z-axis. So how can we find out the mass moment of inertia for the cylindrical object? So for the cylindrical object, we can use the infinitesimal small element as a shell element. So for the cylindrical object, we can use the shell element as a cylinder. So here we have let us say that in this example, in this figure, we have a cylindrical shell element inside a solid cylinder. And for the shell element, the perpendicular distance from the z-axis is r, and the thickness of the shell element is dr. So by using this shell element, we can find out the moment of inertia of the cylinder. As in this case we have chosen the shell element, and from the definition of the mass moment of inertia we know that di equal to r square time dm, and we can replace dm with dv. So how can we replace dm with dv? As we know that density is mass time density mass over volume. So we can write rho equal to dm over dv for the infinitesimal small shell element. So we can write dm equal to rho time dv. So what is the volume for this infinitesimal shell element? So how can we find out the volume for this? So the volume for this will be equal to 2 pi r, which is the circumference, time height h, time dr, which is the thickness. And how can we find out this volume? As we know that for a rectangular shape of thickness, let us say that this is the thickness dr, this is the height h, and this one is the length. So for this rectangular element, how can you find out the volume? So volume will be h time l time thickness, which is dr. So let us say that in this case you have an infinitesimal shell element of thickness, small thickness dr. So you can open this shell element, and when you open this shell element, it will become like this. And what will be the length L? This length will be basically the circumference of this shell element. And what is the circumference for this shell element? This is basically 2 pi r. So in this case you will get the value of dV for the shell element of the cylindrical shell. So the dV value that dV equation that we tried in the previous slide was equal to dV equal to 2 pi r h dr. This is for the shell element that is used in this study. So also the definition of di was equal to r square df. So by taking integral on both sides, I equal to integration mass integral r square df. So we can replace dm with dv. So how can we replace dm with dv? By using the definition of density. So density equal to dm over dv. So here dm equal to rho time dv. So by substituting rho time dv in place of dm, we get I equal to integration r square rho dv. And now our integral will be on volume. So by substituting the value of dv, this value of dv in this equation, we get I equal to integration r square rho. What is the value of dv? 2 pi r h dr. So in this equation, our h is constant, which is the height of solid cylinder. Also 2 pi is constant, rho is constant given in the question. The only variable that left is basically r. So we can write this as r I equal to, by taking constant out from the integral, 2 pi rho h integration of r cube dr. As the integral is to be taken on the r, so how the value of r is basically changing? The value of r is changing from 0 to the capital R. So here we have to take in 0 integral to capital R, which is the radius of solid cylinder. And as we know that the integral of x power n d of x equal to x power n plus 1 over n plus 1. So by using the definition of integral, we get I equal to 2 pi rho h r 4 over 4 with integral from 0 to r and to 1 to the 4. So this will be equal to pi by 2 times rho h r power 4. So this is the mass moment of inertia for the solid cylinder. And in this cylinder, the infinitesimal element we use is the shell element. So in this way you can find the mass moment of inertia. Now this is the second example on which you have to find the mass moment of inertia. And in this example we will use the disk element for finding the mass moment of inertia. So the statement of the example is the volume shown with the density equal to 5 slug per feet cube. So here the density is 5 slug per feet cube, and the unit is given basically English unit. So in English system, the mass is measured in slug and the volume in inch cube or feet cube. So the mass, we have to find the mass moment of inertia of this body about y-axis. So in this case we have to find the mass moment of inertia about y-axis. So how can we find the mass moment of inertia about y-axis for this body? So the plan is to find the mass moment of inertia of the disk element about y-axis, and for the whole body we have to find the mass moment of inertia by taking the integral for the mass moment of inertia of disk element. So let us say that here we take this as a disk element. So for the disk element we have to find the mass moment of inertia, which is diy, which is a small infinitesimal disk element, and for the whole body we can take the integral of the mass moment of inertia of the disk element. So in this way we can find the mass moment of inertia for the whole body. So as we know that by definition of a mass moment of inertia, di equal to r square time dm. So here we can write dm in term of dv, or replacing dm with dv. We can write di equal to r square rho time dv. That is by using a definition of density. So what is here the infinitesimal small element we chosen is disk. So let us say that this is the disk element that we chosen. So how can we find the volume for the disk element? And let us say that this is the y-axis, and from y-axis the perpendicular distance for this disk is basically x. This is up to you. You can use x, you can use y or anything. And let us say that the thickness is basically dy. So as the here the equation is given in term of the equation of this trajectory is given in term of x and y. That's why I use x and y for the disk element also. So how can we find the volume for the disk element? So volume for the disk element will be this area times this thickness. So this area, this is the area of the circle times the thickness. So what is the area of circle? Pi by 4 d square or pi r square. So dv will be equal to here pi x square times what is the thickness, which is dy. Now again look that in this figure, this is your x-axis, this one is your y-axis. So the perpendicular distance is to be measured from y-axis and in the x direction. So that's why I choose here x. And as this vertical distance is to be measured from x-axis but in the y direction, and this is the small dimension, that's why I use here as y. And the location of the disk from the x-axis is basically y. So in this way I give the nomenclature to the disk element. So after finding out the differential volume for this disk element, so I have to find out the mass moment of inertia. So in this case, for the disk element, again I am drawing the disk element. This is the disk element and this is the y-axis. So is it possible that all the element on this disk has the same distance from y or not? Let us say that here you have an element, here on the periphery you have an element. So the periphery element has a distance of y from the disk. So but it is the distance of x from the y-axis, but it is not possible that the element nearer to y-axis has the same distance. So in the case of disk, as the distance of each and every element from the axis is not same, so we can't use this definition of mass moment of inertia for finding the mass moment of inertia for a disk element. So how can I find out the mass moment of inertia? So already it is given that for the solid disk element the mass moment of inertia is I is equal to half mr square. It is given. So for the solid disk I equal to half m r square, r here in this case become x square. So for the differential disk we have to take the differential di, which will be equal to half time x radius, which is the radius of the disk, which does not change. So x square is a constant, but mass will become dm. So we have to change dm with dv in this equation. So di will be equal to half x square rho dv. So I have to place the value of dv in this equation. So in the previous slide, the last equation that I derived was di equal to 1 by 2 times x square rho dv. Here basically x is your radius from the perpendicular distance from the y-axis. So in this case, in this equation, we have to place the value of dv. So the value of dv was equal to pi x square times dy. This is basically area of the circle times the thickness of the disk. So the above equation become di equal to 1 by 2 times x square rho pi x square dy. So by taking the integral on both sides, here I about y, this become equal to, here in this case the pi is constant, the density is constant, which is given as 5 slug per feet cube. Also 1 by 2 is constant. So by taking the constant out from the integral, so this will be 1 by 2 pi time rho. So integration will be x power 4 dy. See here x is also changing with respect to the time. Also the integral is to be taken with respect to y. So we have to substitute the value of x in term of y. So here in the question it was given that x is basically a function of y, and that was x equal to y square. For this equation it was given in the question that this is basically y square equal to x. So by substituting the value of x equal to y square in this equation, so this will be iy equal to 1 by 2 pi rho, here y power 8 dy. Now by taking the integral 1 by 2 pi rho y power 9 over 9, this is I u y. So how and we are taking the integral from 0 to the from 0 to 1 feet, distance from the y, which is 1 feet. So we are taking from 0 to 1, from this is 1. So by substituting the value 1 by 2 pi rho, and this will be 1 power 9 by 9. So this will be equal to pi by 18 times 5, which will be equal to 0.873, and the units are given is slug per feet cube. For the density, this means that the unit is English units. In the English units, the units for IY will be slug dot feet square. So in this way you can use the moment of inertia by using the disk element. Now there may be a case that when you have to find the mass moment of inertia of a rigid body about an axis that is not passing through the mass center of a body. So in that case, that axis about which you have to find the mass moment of inertia may be on the body or may not be on the body, but the condition is that that axis does not pass through the mass center of the body. So in that case, you can find the mass moment of inertia by applying the parallel axis theorem. So how can we derive the parallel axis theorem? Let us say that you have a rigid body of any shape. Let us say this is the rigid body, and this is the G point, which is the mass center of this rigid body, and this is the Z axis. Let us say that this is the Z axis about which you have to find the mass moment of inertia for this rigid body, and this is Z axis. This one is your let us say that this is your X axis, and this one is your Y axis. So first step is that you have to draw the parallel axis, to draw the axis parallel to this Z axis on the centroid. So on the centroid, let us say that this one is your Z prime axis, this one is X prime axis, and this one is your Y prime axis. At a constant distance, let us say of the distance between these two axes is d axis, and this distance is basically constant. It does not change. The first step is you have to draw the axis parallel to the axis about which you have to find the mass moment of inertia on the centroid. So after this, let us say that you have a point P on the rigid body, and the mass for this point P is small dm. This is the infinitesimal small element on this rigid body. Let us say that this is the small infinitesimal rigid element on this rigid body, and I am representing it by a rectangle here. So what is the position of this particle or this element P from the Z axis? So let us say that the position of this element P from the Z axis is R, or let us say the position vector R. Now what is the position of this element P from the centroidal axis, from the Z dash axis? So let us say that this one is R dash, and from the centroidal axis we can basically resolve this R dash in term of X prime and in term of Y prime, which is the distance, which is the X prime is the position of this element P from the Y prime axis, and Y prime is the position of this element P from the X prime axis. So here it become the basically a triangle, and triangle in this way, this one is your R, this one is your D, this one is R prime, this one is Y prime, and this one is X prime. So this is the figure that you got. So in this figure we can apply the Pythagoras theorem. So how can we apply the Pythagoras theorem? So basically in the Pythagoras theorem we have hypotenuse square equal to base square plus perpendicular square. So here our hypotenuse is basically R, so R square equal to what is base? Base is D plus X prime square. What is perpendicular? Perpendicular is basically Y prime, so it become Y prime square. So by definition of a mass moment of inertia, we have di equal to r square dm, and in the previous slide we find out that r square equal to d plus x prime square plus y prime square. So by substituting the value of r square in the above equation, so di will be equal to d plus x prime whole square plus y prime whole square time dm, and this is the moment of inertia for the small element which was p. So how can we find out the mass moment of inertia of the whole rigid body about the z-axis? So by taking the integration. So by taking the mass integration, so I can be find out is integration of m. Here we can d plus x prime whole square is basically can be written as a plus b whole square, and this will be equal to a square plus b square plus 2ab plus y prime square time dm. So here I can combine x prime and y prime together. So the above integral expression will be x prime square plus y prime square dm plus integral 2d x prime dm plus integral d square dm. As the distance between the two axes is d, which is a constant, so here in this expression we can treat d square as a constant. Also in this expression we can treat 2d as a constant. So by taking the constant out from the integration, the above expression will be x prime square plus y prime square dm plus 2d integration of m x prime dm plus d square integration of m dm. Now what is x prime plus y prime square? Here in this case this was your r prime, then this distance is basically y prime, and this is x prime. So x prime square plus y prime square, this is x prime square plus y prime square, and it can be equal to r prime square by Pythagoras theorem. So I can substitute x prime plus y prime square as r prime square dm plus 2d integration of m x prime dm plus d square integration of m dm. So the last equation that in the previous slide I derived was I equal to integration of m r prime square dm plus 2d integration of m x prime dm plus d square integration of m dm. Now what is the first term in this equation? The first term is basically r prime square dm. Now what is this? Basically r prime is the distance from the z-axis. So integration of r prime square dm, this will be equal to your moment of inertia about a centroidal axis. Similarly, in the second equation, what is integration of x prime dm? X prime is the distance of this particle from the z axis, and as the z axis is passing through the body mass center, so it means that each and every particle, the summation of the moment of each and every particle of this rigid body about the centroidal axis will be 0. That is, summation of the moment of all the particles about this axis will be 0, and this is basically integration of m x prime dm is basically this is the summation of the moment of all the element about this centroidal axis. So this will be 0. So here integration of m time dm will be equal to your total mass m. So we can write this term as d square m. So here I will be equal to Ig plus d square m. This is basically your parallel axis theorem. So the parallel axis theorem definition is the moment of inertia, mass moment of inertia about an axis which is not passing through the mass center of the rigid body will be equal to moment of inertia about the mass center of a body plus mass time square of a distance between the two axes. So this is the definition of mass moment of inertia. This is definition of mass moment of inertia by parallel axis theorem. So these are the definitions for the two terms. First one is the parallel axis theorem, and second is the radius of gyration. So the parallel axis theorem, the moment of inertia about an axis that is not passing through the mass center of the rigid body, the moment of inertia about that axis can be found out by taking the moment of inertia about the centroidal axis, which is this one Ig, plus product of mass times the square of distance between the two axes. So this is the basically the definition of parallel axis theorem. What is the radius of gyration? So when you have to find the moment of inertia about the specified axis, so the moment of inertia about the specified axis can be expressed in terms of the radius of gyration. So in this case, as we know that moment of inertia equal to m r square. So here all will be replaced with k. So k is basically called the radius of gyration. So k will be equal to I of square root of I over m. So in the radius of gyration is simply the moment of inertia about the specified axis. So in this way you can define the parallel axis theorem and the radius of gyration. Now the composite body. So how can we find out the moment of inertia for the composite bodies? So if the body is constructed by a number of the simple shapes such as discs, spheres or rods, so the mass moment of inertia for that body can be found out by adding or subtracting the moment of inertia for the each and every specific body. So in this these are some examples for the composite bodies. So in this composite body here it contains three bodies, 1, 2 and 3. So as a whole this body is a combination of three bodies. So for the whole body the moment of inertia can be found out by adding the moment of inertia of these three bodies. Similarly in this example we have two bodies. First one is the rod and second one is the sphere. So moment of inertia for this whole body can be found out by adding the moment of inertia of rod plus moment of inertia of sphere. Similarly for the other two cases. So in this way you can find out the moment of inertia. There may be a case that when you have to subtract the moment of inertia. So let us say that you have a disk in this way. So this portion is a solid portion and this one is hollow. So how can you find out the moment of inertia for this body? So moment of inertia for this body will be this minus this. So we can find out the moment of inertia for the complete solid body, solid disk, and from the solid disk we can find out we can subtract the moment of inertia for the solid disk equivalent to the hollow portion. So in this way you can find out the moment of inertia for the composite bodies. So this is a simple example for the composite bodies. So the statement of the example is if the plate has a density of 8000 kg per cubic meter and the thickness is 10 millimeter, determine its moment of inertia about an axis directed perpendicular to the slide or page and passing through point O. So the axis is passing through the point O and this axis is basically perpendicular to the slide. So we have to find the moment of inertia about this axis. So how can we find the moment of inertia about an axis that is passing through point O and is perpendicular to the slide? So we can find out by using the parallel axis theorem. So by using the parallel axis theorem, we have this is the mass moment. This is the mass center. So first is we have to find out the moment of inertia about the centroid. So after that, let us say that moment about point O will be equal to moment about point G plus mass times square of distance between these two axes. Let us say that this distance is D. So mass times D square. So in this way you can find out the moment of inertia. But here also this is the solid portion and this one is the hollow portion. So here this solid plus hollow portion will be equal to solid portion minus this minus the portion equivalent to hollow portion. So in this way you can find out the moment of inertia for the composite bodies, and also for the case of parallel for the case when the axis is not passing through the mass center. So in this case, as we have to find the moment of inertia about point O, which is not passing through the mass center. So how can we find out the moment of inertia about point O? So we can find by applying the parallel axis theorem. But as in this case, the object is of a composite shape, composite object. So this object is basically a solid portion plus a hollow portion. So we can write this object as a solid disk minus the disk equivalent to the hollow portion. So in this way, we can find out the moment of inertia by applying the parallel axis theorem. So for the solid disk, when we apply the moment of inertia about point O, so for the disk, the moment of inertia about point O, let us say this is the point O. So this will be equal to moment of inertia about the axis that is passing through the centroid plus mass time square of the distance between the two axes. So let us say that this distance between the centroid, mass center, and the point O is d. So for the solid disk, as we know that the moment of inertia about the centroidal axis will be half mr square. So we can write above expression id not equal to half md, which is the mass of the solid disk, time rd square, which is the square of the radius of the solid disk, plus md time d square. So in this expression, all are known except md, which is the mass of the solid disk. So in the expression, in the question statement, we are given with density which was 8000 kg per cubic meter. So from the density we can find out the mass. So we know that density is equal to mass over volume. So md will be density of the solid disk over volume of the solid disk. So in the this will be multiply with volume of the solid disk. Let us say that this is the disk. So this is the area of the circle times this thickness t. This one is a. So area of the circle times thickness will be equal to volume of the disk. So volume of the disk will be equal to pi r square time t. So Vd equal to pi time r is 250 millimeter, which is equivalent to 0.25 meter square, time thickness given in the question is 10 millimeter, so it will be equal to 0.01 square. So this is your volume. So md will be mass of the disk will be equal to 8000, which is density, time pi time 0.25 square time 0.01. Sorry, this is not square, which is equal to 15.71 kg. Substituting the value in the expression for the moment of inertia about point O for the solid disk, we can find the moment of inertia. So the moment of inertia expression of the solid disk from about the point O is equal to 1 by 2 times md or d square plus md d square. So the value of md was 15.71 kg. Substituting the value in the above equation, so moment of inertia of the solid disk about point O will be equal to 1 by 2 time md is 15.71 time rd, which is 0.25 square, plus 15.71 times square of distance between the point O and the mass center, which is also equal to r, which is 0.25 square. So this is equal to 1.473 kg meter square. This is for the solid disk. So now for the hollow disk, the same procedure will be followed. So for the hollow disk, the mass of the hollow disk will be equal to density of the hollow disk time volume of the hollow disk. So the density is 8000 time volume of the hollow disk will be pi r square. So for the hollow disk, the radius is 0.125 meter. So it will be 0.125 square times 0.01, which is thickness. So it is equal to 3.927 kg. Now the moment of inertia of the disk equivalent to hollow disk is about point O is equal to 1 by 2 times mh RH square plus mh d square. Substituting the value 1 by 2 times 3.927 times 0.125 square, which is the radius, plus 3.927 times 0.25 square, which is the distance. So the distance will be radius of the large disk. So it is equal to 0.276 kg meter square. So the moment of inertia of the solid disk and the moment of inertia of the disk equivalent to the hollow disk about point O has been found out. So for the whole composite body, we can find the moment of inertia by subtracting the moment of inertia of the solid disk, by taking the moment of inertia of the disk equivalent to hollow disk from the solid disk. So the moment of inertia of the solid disk about point O was 1.473 kg meter square, and moment of inertia of the disk equivalent to hollow disk about point O was equal to 0.276 kg square meter. So how can we find out the moment of inertia of the composite body about point O? So for the composite body, it will be like as we have this solid disk and there is a disk equivalent to the hollow disk. So from the solid disk, if we subtract the value for this disk equivalent to hollow disk, we can find out the moment of inertia for this disk having a hollow portion. So it will be id naught minus ih naught. So subtracting the moment of inertia of the solid disk of the disk equivalent to hollow disk from the solid disk. So it will be 1.473 minus 0.276, and this will be equal to 1.20 kg square meter. So in this way you can apply the parallel axis theorem and find out the moment of inertia for the composite bodies. So this is the case of applying the parallel axis theorem as well as finding the moment of inertia for the composite bodies.